Let's learn it. Yours truly, Cherboni.
Good morning, learning buddies! For our today's video, I am going to share with you different strategies and assessment in teaching poetry. But before we start, let's define first what poetry is. Poetry is a literature that evokes imaginative awareness of experience or of a specific emotional response through the language. It is arranged for its meaning, sounds, and rhythm. This can be taught in the following strategies. First, reading out loud. Second, unlocking new words. And the third one is by paraphrasing. Let's begin with reading out loud. Why do we need to read it out loud? Poems are maybe in written form, but they are meant to be read aloud. Because the main reason of reading out loud is for us to better understand the text. Those tell, sound, and rhythm, those are directly tied up to the meaning of the text. Well, it is much easier for us to comprehend and understand the text if we can hear it to the others or probably by reading it out loud by ourselves. So this can be done in 4 steps. First, by reading it slowly and familiarizing the text. Second, by reading it in a normal and relaxed voice. Third, by using proper intonation, pauses, and emotion. And lastly, by reading it aloud again for the second time. In here, it is much easier for us to understand on the message or to understand the message of the text which is the author wants us to convey.
Application of reading aloud.
If I die in a war zone, box me up and send me home. Put my medals on my chest, tell my mom I did my best. Tell my dad not to bow, he won't get tension from me now. Tell my bro to study perfectly, key of my bike will be his permanently. Tell my sister not to be upset, her bro will take a long sleep after sunset. Tell my nation not to cry, because I am a soldier born to die. A poem from the book of Tim O'Brien.
By reading aloud, what do you think is the poem all about?
Based on the poem that I have read a while ago, I think the author wants to send this message to his or her family while he or she is in the middle of the war zone. Our next strategy is what we call unlocking the unfamiliar words. Every word in the poem is meant to be there. If there are instances that our students are having a hard time on understanding the whole meaning of the text, we can ask them to identify those unfamiliar words for them and afterwards look for the meaning or look for its meaning in the dictionary. We can also teach them on how to use context clues and give them the idea about figurative languages.
On our screen, we have here the poem entitled Jabberwocky. The first column shows the original poem, the second column shows the underlined or the unfamiliar words, and the last one shows the meaning of the underlined words. Through this, we would be able to understand that Jabberwocky is only invented or meaningless language. It means the poem itself is meaningless.
Our last strategy is what we call paraphrasing. Paraphrasing doesn't mean to change the meaning of the text, but it allows us to present our ideas and information using our own words. By using our own words, we would be able to demonstrate the ideas and information that we have conveyed. In this strategy, we can use this following 3 steps. First, write the poem in a modern prose and change as many of the original words as possible. Second, we can paraphrase it by using the same person and tense as the original poem is written in. And lastly, paraphrase poems are usually longer than the original text due to the need to clearly explain the meaning of it by line.
Application of paraphrasing. We have here the poem entitled All Things Can Tempt Me by W.B. Yeats. All things can tempt me from this craft of verse. One time it was a woman face or worse. Observing the first 2 lines, it is paraphrased into anything can distract me from writing poetry. Once I was distracted by a woman's face, but I was even more distracted.
Now let's proceed with the different assessment used in teaching poetry. We have here 3. First,
poetry portfolio. Second, teacher and peer conferences. And the third one is the rubrics and assessment list. Our first assessment is what we call poetry portfolio. Portfolio may take some time to compile, but it is the best way to assess a student's growth in a span of semester or grading period. In here, the evaluator will be able to see on how the students started and the growth they have taken in the whole body of work. This portfolio serves as the reflection of the student in writing their poetry from the beginning up to the end of the semester.
Guidelines in making poetry portfolio. We have here the acronym CRAFT. It means collect all the poem that you have done, respond to the analysis, act by making your own portfolio, form your own portfolio design, and try on finishing your final product. How my portfolio should look like. In here, we have different examples of poetry portfolio from different students in the high school grade. Through the student portfolio, the teacher will be able to evaluate the student's performance from the beginning up to the end of the semester.
We have here the teacher and peer conferencing. This can be done to peer or to student to teacher. This serves as a window to see the inside of the students and the purpose of writing the poem. In here, the teacher can give suggestions and feedback to the student about their work.
What are the steps in this method and how can it be applied? This is a conference. A teacher can set a schedule for consultation so that she can give some advice, feedback, and suggestion toward his or her students. Furthermore, the students can use this conference to identify those items that needs to be revised. Teacher and peer conference is an independent assessment but most of the time accompanied by the poetry portfolio.
And lastly, we have here the rubrics and assessment list. A rubric is a type of rating scale or a structured approach to assessing students' poetry and focus on assessing a predetermined set of criteria. This can be beneficial to both parties, for the students and the teacher, since the student would have the idea on what is the expected outcome and the teachers would grade her or his student based on the criteria given to the student.
A rubric and how it would be applied. On our screen, we have here a sample rubric. Rubric would be meaningless if we are not going to give it to our student prior to the deadline or the passing date. This rubric will serve as the guideline of the students in making or fulfilling his or her final product. Furthermore, this rubric serves as a guideline of the teachers in giving grade to his or her students since this rubric contains the criteria that the student must achieve during or for his or her final output.
That's all we got for the different assessment and strategies in teaching poetry. I hope that this video has been useful for you as a pre-service teacher who would be sooner or later teaching literary students. Goodbye!
Thanks for watching!